Most people spend their whole lives trying to feel comfortable, and that's exactly why they never become wealthy. Comfort is the great thief of potential. It whispers, "You've earned this," when in truth it's just stealing from your future. The difference between the consumer and the investor isn't in how much they earn, it's in how much they trade comfort today for freedom tomorrow. A millionaire isn't born from luck, he's created by discipline. And tonight, I want to show you how to stop buying things that fade and start building things that last. I once asked a question to an audience. Why do 97% of people spend their entire lives working for money, while only 3% make money work for them? The answer isn't intelligence, it's philosophy. Most people were trained to consume, not to create. They were told to buy, not to build. They were taught to work for money instead of making money work for them. Tonight, I want to show you how to flip that script, how to shift your thinking from the broke mindset of the 97% to the wealth mindset of the 3%. Because until you change your philosophy about money, no amount of money will ever be enough. Let me share with you one of the simplest but most profound lessons I ever learned about money. Every dollar you earn is an employee. Each one has potential, but whether it grows or disappears depends entirely on how you manage it. Most people don't realize this truth. They treat money like a visitor. It comes, it goes, and it never stays long enough to do any good. But the wealthy treat every dollar like a worker on the payroll. They give it a job, a direction, and an expectation for results. And just like a good company, they don't let their employees sit idle. When I was younger, I used to think money was something to spend. I worked, I earned, and I spent, over and over again. It wasn't until I learned the principle of capital that my life began to change. You see, money isn't meant to be kept under the pillow or sitting quietly in the bank doing nothing. It's meant to work just like you do. And the great irony is this: when you learn to put your money to work, you won't have to work as hard yourself. I remember when I first started applying this idea. I didn't have much to invest, but I made a promise to myself that every month, a percentage of what I earned would go to work for me. I called it my money workforce. At first it was small, maybe just 10%. But I treated that money like my best employee. I sent it out to the right places, investments, savings with purpose, opportunities that could grow, and I expected it to bring back results. It wasn't overnight, but over time, those little workers started to bring back more workers. That's the power of compounding. Here's what most people do. They earn $1, and before it's even cooled in their hand, it's gone. Rent, groceries, entertainment, gadgets, it all disappears. And when you spend money without assigning it a purpose, it resigns from your company. It quits. That's why people who make a lot often end up with little. They never give their money a job, so their wealth never compounds. Now imagine this. What if every month you decided that 20% of what you earn will never quit? What if you send that 20% out like soldiers with a mission to bring back reinforcements? That's what investors do. They build a team of dollars that never sleep, never complain, and never call in sick. They work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The secret is consistency, not size. Don't wait for the big win before you start putting your money to work. Start with what you have now, no matter how small, and let discipline do the heavy lifting. The goal is to look at your finances and ask yourself, how many of my dollars are working for me and how many are just lounging around? Because the day your money starts working harder than you do, that's the day you start moving toward real freedom. Most people don't go broke because they don't make enough money. They go broke because they spend emotionally instead of intentionally. I've seen it countless times. Someone works all week, collects their paycheck on Friday, and by Sunday night, it's gone. Not because the bills were too high, but because the emotions were. They spent to celebrate, to escape, to impress, or to forget. And the truth is, emotional spending feels good in the moment, but it robs you of peace in the long run. There was a time in my own life when I did the same. I used to buy things because they made me feel successful, a nicer suit, a fancier dinner, a new gadget. But one day, I realized something important. Every time I bought with emotion, I was paying for a feeling that wouldn't last. The feeling faded, but the bill remained. So I made a decision from that day forward. I wouldn't buy to feel good, I'd buy to grow good. I would spend not as a reaction, but as an investment in my future. You see, the difference between the wealthy and the broke isn't intelligence, it's intention. Poor people buy emotionally, rich people buy strategically. The broke ask, "Can I afford this?" The wealthy ask, "Does this serve my goal?" Every dollar you spend either moves you closer to freedom or farther away from it. There's no neutral spending. I started a practice that changed everything, the 24-hour rule. Before I bought anything non-essential, I waited one day. If I still wanted it after that, I'd consider it. But what I discovered was powerful. Most of the time, I didn't want it anymore. The emotional impulse had faded. You see, emotion is temporary. Wisdom is permanent. The 24-hour rule gives your logic time to catch up with your feelings. When I began spending intentionally, something remarkable happened. I started to feel more in control. I found joy not in buying more, but in watching my money grow. Every time I resisted an emotional purchase and redirected that money toward an investment or education, I wasn't depriving myself, I was empowering myself. I was teaching my brain that discipline feels better than impulse. And soon, the discipline itself became addictive. If you've ever bought something you regretted later, you've experienced the truth of this. Emotional spending doesn't solve problems, it simply delays the lesson. But intentional spending builds confidence, because it means you're no longer reacting, you're directing. Here's a challenge for you. For 1 week, track every emotional purchase you make, coffee runs, impulse buys, subscriptions you forgot about. Then take that total amount and invest it. Watch what happens over time. That small shift, that conscious redirection can become the foundation of your financial transformation. Remember, wealth isn't built in moments of emotion, it's built in moments of decision. So the next time you feel that urge to buy something just to feel good, pause and ask yourself, is this purchase feeding my ego or my freedom? Because one of those will make you broke and the other will make you wealthy. One of the greatest traps that keeps people broke is the endless cycle of consumption. It's everywhere. Advertised, celebrated, even disguised as success. The world whispers constantly, buy more, have more, and you'll be more. But the truth is, you can't chase every pleasure and expect to prosper. You can't fill your house with things and expect your life to feel full. There's a difference between owning things and being owned by them. I learned this lesson years ago when I looked around and realized I had been spending years collecting things that had no return, clothes I barely wore, gadgets that got old in months, and dinners that were gone the moment they ended. And I thought to myself, what if I had traded some of these pleasures for possibilities? What if I had used this same money to buy something that would feed me later instead of something that fed me now? That single question changed my relationship with money forever. The problem isn't that we like nice things. There's nothing wrong with enjoying what you've earned. The problem is that most people build their lives around consumption instead of creation. They spend to impress, to distract, or to reward, but rarely to build. The consumer asks, what can I get today? The investor asks, what can I grow tomorrow? That one shift from consuming to creating is the line between financial frustration and financial freedom. Think about it. Consumers trade their time for things that lose value. Investors trade their things for time and freedom. The car, the latest phone, the luxury accessory, these are all fine, but they lose value the moment you buy them. They bring excitement, but not expansion. And here's the irony. Every consumer eventually runs out of time and money, while every investor gains more of both. I started breaking the consumption cycle with one simple exercise. I listed 3 expenses every month that brought me no real return, things that didn't grow my mind, my income, or my character. Then I redirected that same money into investments, a stock, a fund, a book, a course. Within months, I started to see something remarkable. The things I bought before used to fade in a week, but these new purchases, they kept paying me back, not just in money, but in confidence, wisdom, and growth. Here's the truth. The pleasure of consumption lasts minutes, but the satisfaction of creation lasts years. Every time you spend impulsively, you feed the moment. Every time you invest intentionally, you feed your future. And you don't have to be rich to start. You just have to stop thinking like a consumer. Because consumption will make you look rich for a moment, but creation will make you become rich for a lifetime. So ask yourself right now, what are you consuming that's keeping you from creating? Break that cycle today. Redirect your money, your focus, and your energy toward things that grow. Because the day you stop feeding the habit of consumption is the day you start feeding the habit of freedom. Most people spend 12 years in school learning how to read, write, and memorize facts, but not a single year learning how money works. Isn't that something? We're handed diplomas, but not directions on how to build a financial life. That's why so many smart, capable people end up struggling. It's not that they lack ambition or intelligence, it's that they never learn the language of money. And if you can't speak the language, you can't participate in the conversation. When I was young, I used to think that wealth was a mystery. I thought rich people had some secret door they walked through that the rest of us couldn't find. But over time, I discovered the truth. It's not a secret door, it's an open book. And the only reason most people don't find it is because they never start reading. The wealthy study the principles of money the way a musician studies notes or an athlete studies movement. They learn the patterns, the systems, the language, and once they do, they can play the game at any level. The first time I opened a book on personal finance, I'll be honest, I didn't understand half the words. Terms like cash flow, compound interest, equity, and leverage sounded like another world, but I kept reading. And slowly, the world began to make sense. I realized that money moves in predictable ways. Like gravity, it follows rules. And once you learn those rules, you can stop guessing and start growing. That's when things began to shift for me. Here's what I tell people. If you want to become fluent in the language of money, you have to study it regularly. Read one good financial book every month. Watch a financial lecture or 2 each week. Keep a money journal where you write down what you learn, new ideas, mistakes, wins, even questions, because writing it down makes it real. It becomes part of your thinking. Over time, that journal becomes your personal textbook of financial wisdom. The moment you start learning how money actually works, everything changes. You stop seeing it as something mysterious or intimidating and start seeing it as something you can guide and grow. You'll begin to notice patterns, why some people always seem to struggle and others always seem to have enough. You'll see that it's not luck, it's literacy. And here's the exciting part. The language of money isn't complicated, it's just unfamiliar. Once you start using it, you'll see opportunities that were invisible before. You'll start to think like an investor, not a consumer. You'll stop asking, how can I afford this? and start asking, how can this afford me? So make a promise to yourself tonight. Become a student of money. Don't wait for schools or systems to teach you. They won't. Teach yourself. Because the moment you become fluent in the language of money, you'll never again be broke in understanding, and eventually, you'll never again be broke in life. Most people spend their entire lives chasing income, and that's why they never build wealth. They work harder, longer, earn more, and somehow still feel like they're standing in the same place. Because income thinking is like running on a treadmill. You can move faster, but you'll never get anywhere unless you step off and start building something that moves without you. The goal is not just to earn more, but to own more. Income feeds you for today, assets feed you for life. When I first began working, I thought earning more money would solve everything. I kept saying, if I could just make an extra $500 a month, everything would be fine. But here's what I learned. When you think like that, your expenses grow with your income. Every time you make more, life finds a way to take it. You get a raise, and somehow the bills grow to match. It's the great illusion of progress. You earn more, but own the same. I realized I had to shift my thinking from income to ownership. That's when everything began to change. I stopped asking, how much do I make, and started asking, what do I own? You see, income is temporary, disappears when you stop working. Assets are permanent. They keep working even when you don't. I started treating every paycheck as an opportunity to buy a piece of freedom. Instead of spending on things that fade, I began buying things that grow. Shares of companies, small real estate ventures, intellectual property, even ideas that could one day pay me back. Now, this shift doesn't happen overnight. It starts with one decision: to stop being a worker of money and start being an owner of money. I began converting a percentage of every paycheck into long-term assets. 10%, then 15%, then 20%. It wasn't easy at first, but I treated it like a bill I owed my future self. And every time I made that payment, I felt wealthier, not because I had more cash, but because I had more control. I also began tracking my net worth instead of just my income. That single change gave me perspective. A big income looks impressive, but if nothing is left after expenses, you're not rich, you're just temporarily funded. Because assets don't ask for a paycheck, they give you one. So here's the challenge. Learn one asset building skill this year. Maybe it's real estate, maybe it's creating a digital product, maybe it's investing in dividend stocks. Whatever it is, learn how to turn money into ownership. Because income thinking will make you busy, but asset thinking will make you free. The truth is simple. Money earned is good, but money owned is better. Don't just work for money. Let money work for you. That's the day your financial life truly begins to grow beyond your job and into your freedom. One of the greatest revelations of my life was this: time is far more valuable than money. You can lose money and earn it back, but once time slips away, it's gone forever. Most people make the mistake of trading large portions of their time for small portions of money, thinking that's the only way to survive. But the truth is, wealth isn't just about how much you make, it's about how you use the hours you have. The wealthy guard their time like treasure because they know it's the raw material of success. When I was young, I used to spend my time carelessly. I'd work hard during the day and then waste the evenings doing nothing productive, no reading, no planning, no building. One day, my mentor asked me, "Do you value your time the way you value your paycheck?" That question hit me like a hammer. I realized that if I didn't start treating my hours like money, I would keep losing both. From that day on, I began scheduling my time with intention. I started to ask myself, is this activity costing me or paying me? That's when I discovered something powerful. It's better to spend money to save time than to spend time to save money. You can always earn another dollar, but you can never earn another hour. Many people try to do everything themselves. They cook every meal, clean every corner, handle every errand, thinking they're saving money. But in truth, they're wasting the most valuable asset they have, time that could be invested in learning, creating, or earning more. So I began to delegate small tasks and use that extra time to build my mind and my business. I outsourced what didn't grow me and invested the freed up hours into reading, studying, and developing skills that multiplied my income. Before long, I saw the return. The few dollars I paid others to do what I could have done myself brought me back hundreds, even thousands, in opportunities and clarity. I started to schedule my learning like appointments, serious, non-negotiable time blocks where I'd focus on improving myself. I treated that hour of reading or studying as if it were a meeting with my future, because that's exactly what it was. And every hour I invested in my future paid me back in confidence, creativity, and cash flow. Here's the truth. Poor people think in dollars. Rich people think in hours. The broke person says it's only $10, while the wealthy person asks, how much time will this cost me? Time is the ultimate currency. If you misuse it, you'll always be poor, no matter how much you earn. So here's what I challenge you to do. This week, identify one repetitive task you can outsource or automate. Free that time and reinvest it into something that makes you grow. Because the day you begin valuing your time more than your money is the day you start building real wealth, the kind that outlives your paycheck and multiplies your potential. One of the most powerful lessons I learned early in life is that money, when given time and patience, can grow silently, steadily, and powerfully. The secret weapon of the wealthy isn't luck, skill, or hard work alone. It's compounding. Compounding is simple, yet profoundly transformative. It's the principle that what you plant today, if nurtured consistently, grows into a forest tomorrow. Too many people wait to invest, thinking they're too young, too old, or too broke. The truth is, the moment you start matters far more than how much you start with. Even a small seed, given time, becomes mighty. I remember when I first automated a modest monthly investment, I wasn't making much, and it didn't feel like it mattered. Yet I trusted the principle. Each month, the contributions went in automatically, untouched, and I resisted the temptation to spend. Years later, that small, consistent habit had grown beyond what I could have imagined. That's compounding in action. The money wasn't just sitting, it was working, multiplying, and making more money for me while I slept, lived, and learned. But compounding isn't just for money. It applies to knowledge, habits, and relationships as well. The skills you learn, the books you read, the connections you nurture, all compound over time. 1 hour of learning every day doesn't feel like much, but over months and years, that knowledge creates opportunities, insights, and income streams that can't be bought. Compounding is time's reward for patience and discipline. The biggest mistake people make is impatience. They want instant results, and when money doesn't grow overnight, they give up. Yet the universe rewards those who commit to small, consistent actions. Reinvest your profits, automate contributions, and resist the urge to spend prematurely. Watch as the returns, reinvested, begin to grow on themselves. Over time, the process becomes almost magical, not because of luck, but because of the unstoppable power of consistency compounded by time. So I challenge you, pick a small amount, however modest, and commit to investing it monthly. Treat it as non-negotiable, like a bill for your future self. Track the growth, celebrate milestones, but never touch the principle. Let time work for you, and let compounding become your silent partner. The day you start, no matter your age or income, is the day your money begins to work for you quietly, steadily, and relentlessly. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary investors. True wealth isn't measured merely by the numbers in your bank account. It's measured by the impact you create in the lives you touch. I've learned over the years that giving is not a cost. It's an investment, a seed planted that returns more than you can calculate in dollars. There's a profound principle in life. Only by giving can you open the doors to receiving. Wealth that is hoarded, wealth that serves only oneself, is fragile. It doesn't grow. It stagnates. But wealth that circulates, that supports, empowers, and uplifts, multiplies in ways that money alone cannot achieve. Early in my career, I had very little, yet I chose to give what I could. I mentored young people, shared what I was learning about business and money, and supported small causes in my community. At first, it felt uncomfortable. There was fear. Will I have enough for myself? But I quickly realized that the act of giving created a momentum of abundance. Doors opened, relationships strengthened, and new opportunities arrived, not always immediately, but consistently. The universe has a way of returning generosity, often amplified, to those who embrace it sincerely. Giving also reshapes your mindset. When you focus only on accumulation, your attention is narrow, and your actions become driven by fear or greed. But when you integrate giving into your financial plan, you develop a mindset of abundance. You begin to see resources not as finite, but as tools to create value, to influence, and to leave a legacy. A deliberate portion of income, whether 5 or 10% allocated to causes or education, transforms how you view money. It no longer simply buys comfort, it buys purpose and impact. The act of teaching is another form of giving that compounds. When you share your financial knowledge or your insights with others, you multiply the effect of your learning. One principle taught today can create decades of benefit for someone else. Over time, this creates a culture of abundance. Not just wealth accumulation, but wisdom passed on. So I challenge you, dedicate a portion of your income to giving, yes, but also dedicate your time and knowledge. Mentor, teach, and invest in causes that resonate with your values. The doors of receiving do not open because of greed, they open because of generosity. Give, and watch how your wealth, influence, and impact grow in ways that money alone could never achieve. Generosity is the true multiplier of wealth. A budget, when properly understood, is not a cage, it's a compass. Too many people think of budgeting as a restriction, a painful chore that limits their ability to enjoy life. They focus on what they cannot spend rather than where their money can take them. The wealthy, however, view a budget as a tool for freedom. It is a map that directs their resources toward the life they envision rather than leaving their finances to chance. I've seen it over and over in my own life and in those I've mentored. The moment you begin budgeting with purpose, money ceases to be a source of stress and becomes a servant to your vision. Early on, I didn't have much. I was working multiple jobs, trying to pay bills, and barely able to save. But the moment I started assigning every dollar a purpose, I began to see control. I would ask myself, does this expense move me closer to the life I want, or does it distract me from it? Suddenly, frivolous spending, unnecessary subscriptions, impulse purchases, or distractions became glaringly obvious. By redirecting even a small percentage of what was wasted into investments or learning, I began to create momentum. The real magic is that when your budget is aligned with a vision, discipline becomes easier. Spending isn't about denial, it's about direction. A budget aligned with vision is also flexible. Life changes, opportunities arise, and financial goals evolve. This is why it's essential to review your financial map regularly. I make it a point to review my budget quarterly, not to feel guilty about spending, but to ensure every dollar is still marching toward my larger purpose. When you do this, budgeting becomes an empowering exercise. It tells your money where to go, rather than letting your habits tell it where it has been. When you update your vision, your budget updates automatically. It's not just about cutting costs, it's about reallocating resources to what matters. This could mean investing more in education, business opportunities, or assets that produce income, and cutting spending on things that produce nothing but temporary satisfaction. Over time, this simple principle transforms your financial life. So, I urge you to let your budget reflect your vision. Review every expense. Eliminate what doesn't serve your future, and channel those dollars toward what grows you. Your budget is not a limit, it is your path to freedom. When it comes to building lasting wealth, the greatest mistake most people make is thinking in days, weeks, or even months. They overestimate what they can achieve in a short burst and underestimate what they can accomplish over a decade. True financial growth, like a tree, requires time to root, grow, and bear fruit. I've seen this countless times in my own life and in the lives of those I've mentored. People give up too soon because they are measuring success by a calendar, not by the arc of their vision. Wealth is patient. It compounds quietly while most are chasing instant gratification. But early in my career, I was eager to see quick results. But the moment I shifted my focus to a long-term horizon, everything changed. I began measuring success in terms of years, not days. I set goals for 5, 10, and even 20 years into the future, and then worked backward to design monthly and yearly habits that would lead me there. Suddenly, consistent saving, disciplined investing, and deliberate skill building were no longer chores. They were steps on a journey I could trust. Thinking in decades also changes how you view risk and opportunity. Short-term volatility might feel alarming, but if your vision spans 10 years, temporary setbacks are just bumps along the road. Conversely, small actions taken consistently over time, reading a book a month, investing a portion of income regularly, building a side business, compound into something extraordinary. The daily sacrifices that seem insignificant in the moment accumulate into real freedom, security, and influence over time. I've seen modest investments in my early years grow into substantial assets simply because I allowed them to mature, reinvest, and compound. A long-term mindset also frees you from comparison. You stop measuring yourself against what others achieve in a day or a year and focus instead on steady progress towards your own goals. You develop patience, resilience, and the ability to delay gratification, qualities that distinguish investors from mere consumers. Each monthly habit, each disciplined choice becomes a building block in a structure that will stand for decades. So, don't let short-term thinking dictate your financial life. Create a 10-year vision for your wealth, break it into yearly goals and monthly actions, and focus on building assets that grow over time. Measure success by your progress, not your possessions. Remember, wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. Think in decades, act in days, and let patience be your greatest leverage. If you want to transform your financial life, understand this: you become like the people you spend the most time with. I've always believed that our income, mindset, and habits are largely shaped by the environment we immerse ourselves in. If you surround yourself with negativity, complacency, or short-term thinkers, your own progress will stagnate. On the other hand, if you spend your days with people who are ambitious, disciplined, and financially savvy, their habits, ideas, and standards will naturally influence you. I've seen this repeatedly, both in my own journey and in mentoring countless individuals. The breakthroughs often come not from working harder alone, but from the insights, motivation, and examples drawn from the right circle. Early in my life, I realized I was thinking too small. I knew people who had financial freedom, who understood investments, business, and wealth building in ways I didn't. I made it a point to spend more time with them, to listen, ask questions, and observe their routines. Slowly, my thinking expanded. Ideas I never considered before became possibilities, and habits I lacked became natural. It wasn't imitation, it was absorption of mindset, principles, and standards that pushed me forward. Building wealth is as much about your relationships as it is about your income. Associations act like mirrors and compasses. They show you what's possible and guide you toward it. That's why joining financial groups, networking with like-minded individuals, or attending seminars isn't just optional, it's critical. Even a single event can introduce you to habits, perspectives, and strategies that accelerate your growth tenfold. At the same time, protecting your mental and financial space is equally important. Limit time with negative, cynical, or complacent people. Their doubts, complaints, and excuses can quietly erode your motivation. Your environment can either empower or disempower your financial journey. Choose wisely. So, make it a habit to intentionally surround yourself with financial thinkers. Seek out mentors, peers, and communities that challenge you to grow. Attend events, participate in discussions, and continually expand your network. Learn through association because success leaves clues. And the faster you absorb those clues, the faster you advance. Remember, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Walk with those who are already on the road to financial freedom and watch how your own wealth and mindset accelerate. If you want to truly elevate your financial life, you must first elevate yourself. It's a simple principle, yet so many overlook it. You don't get paid for the hours you work, but for the value you bring during those hours. Money follows value, not effort. I've seen people grind tirelessly, putting in long hours, yet their income stagnates because they never invested in themselves. They worked harder but not smarter. The breakthrough always comes when you multiply your value before expecting your income to multiply. Early in my life, I realized that my skills, knowledge, and ideas were the currency that would define my earning potential. I committed to learning relentlessly, attending seminars, reading books, and absorbing wisdom from those ahead of me. Every new skill I acquired, every insight I applied, made me more capable of delivering results that people were willing to pay for. Soon, opportunities opened, not because I was clocking more hours, but because I was creating more value. To follow this principle, make personal growth non-negotiable. Identify areas where your knowledge, creativity, or leadership can improve, and take actionable steps. A single course in negotiation, investing, or communication each quarter compounds over years into a competitive edge that cannot be ignored. Seek mentorship and feedback to uncover blind spots and refine your approach. When you know your value, you can confidently negotiate better compensation, secure higher paying clients, or launch ventures that others wouldn't dare. It's important to understand that multiplying value isn't limited to professional skills alone. Emotional intelligence, problem solving, integrity, and the ability to deliver results consistently all contribute to your worth. These traits create trust, influence, and opportunities that cannot be measured by time alone. People will pay more for someone they trust to produce results consistently than someone who simply shows up. So, stop focusing on adding hours to your day and start adding value to each hour. Make learning, growing, and creating results a daily habit. Every course, every mentorship session, every small improvement compounds, and that compound growth becomes your income. The wealthiest people didn't get there by working longer. They got there by becoming more, by multiplying their value first and then letting their income follow. Remember, if you want your income to grow, grow yourself first, elevate your value, and the money will chase you naturally. Wealth without wisdom is like a house built on sand. It may stand for a while, but the first storm will shake its foundation. Too often, people focus on accumulating money, counting the digits in their bank accounts, or acquiring assets, yet they forget the enduring power of knowledge. True legacy isn't measured by the size of your portfolio, it's measured by the mindset, habits, and principles you pass on. Money can be lost, markets can fluctuate, but wisdom, applied and shared, compounds across generations. Early in my life, I watched people acquire wealth only to lose it because they hadn't learned how to think about money or how to manage it wisely. I realized that if I wanted my success to last, I needed more than earnings. I needed understanding, discipline, and the ability to make sound decisions. Over the years, I focused not just on growing my assets, but on developing principles that could guide me through uncertainty and teach others to do the same. To build a legacy, start by teaching the people around you what you know, whether it's your children, family members, or mentees. Share the practices that created stability and growth in your own life. Discuss budgeting, saving, investing, and the habits that separate those who merely earn from those who truly thrive. Create conversations about money a normal part of life rather than a taboo subject. When wisdom becomes routine, it embeds itself in the next generation. Documentation is another powerful tool. Writing down your financial principles, strategies, and lessons learned ensures that your knowledge survives beyond your immediate presence. A written guide or personal journal can serve as a reference, offering clarity and direction long after you're gone. Pair this with tangible actions, like funding an educational trust, scholarship, or mentorship program. Money given without guidance often fades, but when paired with wisdom, it empowers. Building legacy is about more than accumulating wealth. It's about shaping habits, principles, and mindsets that endure. Every conversation, every lesson, every principle you share multiplies your impact. Wealth will follow, but wisdom ensures it lasts. Teach, guide, and document. Build a legacy that money alone cannot buy. As we reach the close of this conversation, remember this: wealth is more than numbers on a balance sheet. It is the result of habits, choices, and mindset cultivated day after day. True financial freedom does not come from luck or sudden windfalls. It comes from consistent action, from turning money into a tool rather than a temptation, from thinking like an investor rather than a consumer. The moment you decide to act, to shift your focus from immediate gratification to long-term growth, you'd take control of your financial destiny. It begins with small, deliberate steps. Automating your savings, allocating income toward assets, investing in your knowledge, and tracking every dollar that flows through your hands. Each decision compounds, and over time, these seemingly minor choices shape the life you will live. Delayed gratification, disciplined planning, and thoughtful risk-taking are the foundations that separate those who endure financial struggle from those who achieve lasting prosperity. But wealth is not merely about accumulation, it is about impact. Teaching, mentoring, and sharing your insights multiplies your influence far beyond your own earnings. Build systems, create multiple income streams, and design your financial life with purpose. Make generosity and wisdom part of the plan, because true success is measured not by what you keep, but by what you leave behind. Now, it is your turn. Write down one financial goal today. Automate one step toward that goal, and invest just a little time in learning something new about money this week. Share one lesson you've learned with someone else. Commit to a ritual, however small, that moves you forward every single day. Remember, the journey to wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. Start where you are, act with intention, and let patience and discipline guide you. The future you desire is waiting. Take the first step now.